Hey guys, Art13131. We're in week 5 now. And we're going to talk about assignment number 9, which is landscape drawing. As you can see, the midterm presentation is due this week. And I gave it up till the 6th, which is Sunday night at midnight. That's giving you the whole week to produce that. Midterm presentation, as I mentioned in 2 videos and an email, is a 5-minute PowerPoint or Google Slides presentation. It could be a video, that you made a video and talked and showed the images and talked about your subject matter. And also, very important, it's to show your own artwork, your own creation that relates to your subject in some way or another. So that could be an actual copy of famous artist's work, or your take on that work with your own subject matter, but done in the style of the artist, or art style you're talking about, art technique, maybe an art movement like surrealism or impressionism or pop art or modernism, um, classics. You know, there was a lot of movements, abstract expressionism, or just abstract. Impressionism was one of my favorite. Or it could just be about watercolor or acrylics or oil painting or something. It doesn't have to be what we're doing in this class. It doesn't have to be drawing or painting. It can be various, anything in art. Branch out. It could be cake art, costume art, jewelry art, theater art, tattoos, anime, ceramics, graffiti, performance art. So there's a sculpture, found object sculpture, or any kind of sculpture. So there's a lot there, but you do have to produce your own artwork that relates to that in some way or another. Okay, so don't forget that part. You got to have your own artwork and include it in your presentation. Now I say 5 minute long. Include at least 5 or more images of what you're talking about, not the same image, not 5 of your own work. We're talking about 5 of something that you're presenting on. You're not presenting on your own work. You're just showing an example of your own work that relates to your subject matter. So that's all you're doing. So you want to show what the subject matter images are, and at least 5 or more of those, okay? And also provide text. If it's not a video where you're talking, then provide enough text to describe accurately and concisely what you're presenting on. But you want to, give enough information so we understand what you're talking about, why you're interested in it, what is good or bad, what's the pros and cons of it, why you're inspired by it, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're offended by it and you're presenting on that. But make it known to us what you're talking about. And that's the whole idea with any essay or presentation. So that's what I want to see. This is due by the 6th, Sunday night at midnight. I won't accept it another time. So if you're having difficulty, get a hold of me through email and we'll discuss what your problem is with that, with whatever you're doing, and then we can go from there. But that is due this week. Okay, let's talk about the landscape drawing, which is only one drawing, so you have time this week to do your presentation. There's no homework either. One drawing, no homework. But the midterm is due during this week. Okay, so landscape drawings actually could be there's quite an open door there, as you can see. I just put landscape drawings. It's showing paintings too. Now, if you're fairly decent at painting, go ahead and paint something. I'm good with that. But if you're not, then stick with drawing, because that's what we've been doing during the term so far. And also, you're going to want to put a lot of contrast in your drawing. Don't draw something faint with no lights and darks that give it shape and contrast. If you notice, most of these have dark areas, light areas, and everything in between when you're drawing with graphite. Now, if you're painting, you want various colors. You don't want one or two or something like that. You want to really depict your light source, where the shadow and light sides are to everything. Mountains, trees, water, everything has a tone. Everything has a color. So even when you're doing graphite, you want to have all of this tone. You don't want to leave the sky white or the water white or something like that, as white as paper, because it isn't. Unless it's a blizzard out, which probably isn't the case. But if you want to do something like that, let's see how it works. But, everything's going to have snow on it. So, you want to do that, then fine, let's see how it works. But I'm just saying, if it doesn't have snow everywhere, then the sky is probably blue or gray, not white. Okay? All right. So look at these. There's many of them. There's landscape with silhouettes, like these deer in the tree here. And then everything else is sort of faintly lit up as it goes back to that scene. There's many, many ways to do these things. I'll provide a couple of videos on tree drawing and atmospheric perspective and just some take on distance, showing distance, like mountains in the background usually are more faint or misty than the ones in the foreground, and they tear off. Let me see if I can find an example of that. But if you're doing several mountain ranges that are tearing off into the distance, usually they get fainter and more misty as they go back because of the atmosphere has a perspective to it. It has particles in it that can obscure your vision of things that are in way distance, like this here, a perfect example. Everything, the tree in this hill here are very detailed and sharp. Then it starts getting a little more less sharp and misty and hardly any detail. But there's a mountain back there. It's just in lighter grays or with some other darker areas that are the rocky areas or the imperfections, the caverns and the crevices are maybe a little darker. But overall, the whole mountain range back here is slightly lighter and less detailed than this one, and then this one and that one. So, you want to do water with it. There's a good idea is do reflection on the water of what's above it. So it's in reverse, a reflection in reverse on the water. A lot of these are like that, like this river coming through here. That's kind of very still, but you see the trees reflected in the water. Same with this lake scene. Okay, so it's preferred that you go out and draw from a live model of landscape. And, it could be a seascape-ish with land in it. That's okay, too. But, you really want to get that together. You want to have all the rocks showing. If you're showing rocks and water and everything, you want to show the light source on that. So it's not just one black rock, unless it's a silhouette. And the sun is setting way back there, then it would be a silhouette of a rock, right? Because you're not seeing the light hitting it, because the sun's way behind it. But if sun is on either side or right above, you're going to see a lot of light and darks in everything you're drawing. So you really want to try to put all those lights and darks in and create contrast. Contrast, the difference between the lights and the darks and everything in between is going to create a strong drawing. There's a lot of examples here. Here's the lighthouse idea, which is pretty cool. I will accept that as landscape. All right. You can go through here till the cows come home. You can go to Google and look at what they have too. Google images. Let's put seascape just for the heck of it here and see what happens there. Lots of those. But you see what I'm talking about? light and dark areas, in the water, in the sky. Okay. You want to try to make an interesting drawing. You don't want to have it be boring and all a bunch of light tones with no shape and no contrast. That's not a strong drawing. That's a boring drawing. So wherever you can, put that in. It can be something like this. I mean, you can sort of make something up if you really can't get out, but I prefer you to get out and go look at something, okay? That'd be the best idea. And look at it and draw it. You might want to get gesture drawings of things first. Don't try to draw it all perfectly. You know, map it out where things are going to go lightly, and then start putting in all the tone with your the pencil drawing pencils or charcoal that render darker tones and lighter tones, and you can go back and forth between them. Where the light is hitting on something, from that direction, those are the lighter tones. Where it isn't, in the shadow areas that aren't being lit up by light, that's the darker tones. And then everything in between. Usually there's a gradual transition between dark and light tones when things are round like trees. There's a mid-tone going in there before it becomes light from dark. There's mid-tones. Okay, and that shows your light source and the shape of the tree. When light is on your subject, it will show the shape of it because there'll be light and dark areas. And then you say, oh, that's round right there. Or that's so sharp, that's like a box. It all of a sudden changes to another side, as opposed to being a round curved edge. Round curved edge, that's going to have the midtones. All right, so you can go through this and pick something similar or get some ideas about it. I really, really, really prefer you go out and look at something because there's some nice days here, I think, this week, and go out and draw something from what you're seeing. It's much more enjoyable, I think, and it's going to look more real. You're going to get the practice of looking at the lights and darks and shapes and proportions and perspective of what you have in front of you, and that's a good practice to draw from, rather opposed to copying something off of here. These are just suggestions on what you might be able to do, and strong drawings. Lots of contrast here and there, or whatever it is, and then you get a good idea what a strong drawing is comparatively with what you're doing, and compare them. Go back here and look at what you've drawn, and then look at these. And you go, wow, maybe I need some more contrast. Maybe I need some darker areas or lighter areas or midtones to make this stand out, make it have shape, make it have three-dimension so it comes off the paper at you. All right, so get working on your midterms. Get those to me by Sunday night. And also, if you haven't turned in a lot of work, you should start sending that to me too, because we're in the midterm, and if you're behind 2 or 3 weeks, that's not a good place to be. You want to get those to me so I can critique them and might send them back for you to do more work to them for a better grade. And then, so you see how this works? You're going to have more to do if you let it go and not finish up or complete at least your first attempt on these things, okay? And also, look for the other videos I'm going to provide. One on drawing trees, if you're wondering how to do that, and initial landscape sort of ideas of drawing techniques to get started. And also, I'll see what else I can provide there, and then look for those. All right, thank you. We'll talk with you next week.